Yo, what's going on? I wanted to jump on real quick because we got a story of somebody who's fumbling the bag or on the verge of fumbling the bag. More importantly, they may be fumbling their freedom, which is much more important than the bag. So we're going to dive in and talk about it. If you're new to the channel, I'm Marcus, the debt free dad, where we're talking finances, financial takes, financial topics, current events, attorney reactions, and all that good stuff. I am a licensed attorney, but the disclaimer is I'm not your attorney, so this isn't legal or financial advice. Just giving my opinion, takes on topics, infotainment purposes. Seek a professional in your local area. So, y'all know I always like to spot a story where someone does something to potentially fumble the bag, and we have some allegations impacting NBA star Kevin Porter Jr. Kevin Porter Jr. was, I think, the 30th pick in the draft in his class year. He was the absolute last person selected in the first round. But last year, this dude had his best year of all last year. I think he averaged 19, 20 points somewhere in that time frame, somewhere in that point average. If you average 19 points in the association, you're like a hop, skip, and a step away from being an all-star caliber player where like I'm talking millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, are potentially at your fingertips. So let's talk about it. Kevin Porter Jr. is an NBA player for the Houston Rockets. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the video so we can get some facts. Then I'm gonna break down a little bit of the legal nuances, but I'm also gonna talk about the money aspect. We got to look at his contract. We got to look at how it's paid. We also got to look at some of his prior conduct, which is why his contract is really structured the way it is. Remember, these are all allegations. Before we dive in, I don't want nobody coming for me try to sue me. These are all allegations. Let's go ahead and jump to the video.
Houston Rockets guard Kevin Porter Jr. walked out of the 17th precinct to an awaiting police cruiser. Porter Jr. is facing assault and strangulation charges for an alleged attack inside the Millennium Hotel. Multiple law enforcement sources with knowledge of the case say Porter Jr. returned to the hotel this morning. His girlfriend was asleep inside their hotel room. Law enforcement sources say Porter Jr. entered the room minutes later. Those same sources say his girlfriend was running through the hotel hallway screaming for help. Police arrested Porter Jr. His girlfriend was taken to the hospital with multiple injuries, including bruises on her face. Porter Jr. said nothing as he left the 17th precinct late this afternoon. The Houston Rockets released this statement saying, quote, "We are in the process of gathering information surrounding the matter involving Kevin Porter Jr. We have no further comment at this time." The NBA also released a statement saying, quote, "We are aware of the reports regarding Kevin Porter Jr. The league office is in contact with the Houston Rockets and is in the process of gathering more information."
Thanks for watching and stay updated about breaking.
All right, so let's go ahead and rap about this real quick and break it down. This dude signed the NBA contract that I believe is worth, I want to make sure I got the numbers correct, about $82 million. So he's looking at getting $82 million. Now, a little bit on Kevin Porter Jr. and his history. This isn't his first incident where he's in contact with law enforcement. When he first got drafted by the Cavaliers, he had an incident where it was an auto accident. Guns, marijuana were found in the car. In that instance, the grand jury decided, you know what? We're not going to indict these charges. So he really, kind of, I ain't going to say he got away with one, but he got away with one. These allegations are interesting because allegedly there's other conduct, other incidents involving his girlfriend. Now, I'm not going to name the alleged victim's name, but she was the number 4 draft in the 2001 WNBA draft. I think she got drafted by Indiana and was waived, and she's currently a free agent. Now, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with. Well, I do know what the deal is, but I guess the first thing to say is the NBA does have a domestic violence policy because of Kevin Porter's previous conduct with law enforcement and contact with law enforcement. The Houston Rockets actually played this smart because they structured his NBA deal really unique. Think about it. Most NBA players, they get a bag for 80, $100 million. They get 50, 60, 70% sometime, depending on how good the player is, of that money guaranteed. Of Kevin Porter's $82 million, this year $15 million is guaranteed, but next year is only partially guaranteed. Only $1 million is guaranteed, and the following year $3 million is guaranteed. That contract was strategically written in a way based off of his past conduct. The team wanted to protect themselves. They didn't want to be on the hook for all of that money. It's a travesty and it's terrible to see all. I mean, one is twofold. One, if the allegations are true, you deserve whatever the law throws your way. Let's just throw that out there. But it's sad to see so many athletes, entertainers, hell, people in general get caught up, lose their livelihood over domestic violence situations. I'm just, hey, there's nothing, there's nothing that could happen in my household that would cause me to come home and put hands on anybody. It's just something I'm not willing to do. It's something I'm not willing to risk. And a lot of times you see, especially with entertainers, athletes, they get caught up. There's a lot of emotions. These guys are young. And, hey, you do the crime, you do the time. That's just kind of how it goes. But right now, these are allegations. We don't know if these allegations are true or not. The NBA is going to do an investigation. Law enforcement is going to do an investigation. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the actual charges here, because I don't know if you all know this, but strangulation is a wild charge because you can have two individuals who assault someone else. If one person punches the other one in the face and the other person strangles someone, there are a lot of states out there where strangulation is a much more serious charge. So I wanted to take a look to see how it's specifically defined in New York. Let me go and pull up my notes real quick, since I ain't a New York guy or nothing. But strangulation in New York is interesting because it could be two classes. It could be a class D felony, or an alternative, it could be a class C felony. When you got these felonies involved, the higher up, the closer you get to the letter A, the more time that you're going to be potentially looking at. Strangulation in the second degree in New York is a class D felonies. They're punishable by up to 7 years in prison. However, if the offense resulted in the alleged victim suffering serious physical injury, the crime becomes strangulation in the first degree, which is a class C felony, which could be punishable by a maximum of up to 15 years in prison. Now, just looking at the facts of the case as we got them right now, allegedly the victim neck was fractured from this strangulation. So that's kind of crazy. That's kind of wild. We got to wait to see how it play out in the court. I'm telling you what I would do if I was an NBA GM right now. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna suspend this dude. This dude already got this year's salary guaranteed, so he gonna sit on that 15 million. But I'm gonna suspend this dude. I don't want no parts of this dude until the justice system plays its course and goes through. I'm just going to be honest with these facts. The fact that it was apparently witnesses, allegedly there was witnesses at the hotel that saw the victim running through the hallways, bloody and screaming. The fact that an actual arrest was made, he was released on a $75,000 cash bond. Hey, where there's smoke, where there's smoke, there's fire. There appears to be a lot of fire here. So Kevin Porter Jr. may be in the process of not only fumbling his bag, but fumbling his freedom as well. Now, these domestic violence cases are like the wildest cases. Normally, what will happen, and I think it happened in this case, if I'm not mistaken, the court will put in a protective order like, okay, you're accused of doing this. Until we come to court and resolve this, whether you're found guilty, innocent, plea, whatever the outcome is, you stay the hell away from her so that everybody don't go within X amount of feet of these individuals. So that's normally the process that the court will take. But trust me, as someone who used to be in domestic violence court, and domestic violence courts isn't that worse than family law, but it's pretty annoying. First of all, I want to say shout out to everybody who tuned in to this video. I appreciate y'all for tuning in and chiming in and supporting your boy. But domestic violence court is one of those things because a lot of times victims of domestic abuse I mean, they just caught up. They feel obligated. They feel like they're still in love with the perpetrator. So it wasn't uncommon to see a couple in court for domestic violence. The judge issues a protective order for the husband to stay away from the wife. The husband is going to court. He's still going to work while all this stuff is pending. After about a month, what happens? The wife wants him back in the house, so she's down at the courthouse. She's in my office, begging the you know what out of me to, hey, see if we can get in front of the judge because I want him to come back home. I'm not afraid of him. They go through this whole ridiculous soliloquy of events. Now, the judge is always in a tight, compromising position, right? Spouse comes down, and I'm a judge, and I'm sitting on the bench. Normally, what the judge will do is, the judge will say, look, I'm not removing anything unless I expressly hear from the wife. Most times, and if the person has a prior history of this, the judge probably isn't going to be like, no, I'm not getting rid of that order. Because let's just think about it. I've seen this happen where there's a couple in domestic violence court. They have a separation order to a no contact order. The wife or one of the spouses come down, Yana, I want him to come back home. And the individual comes back home and it ends up turning into an attempted murder or something even worse. I've seen that actually happen. So judges are really reluctant to get rid of those no contact orders because they don't want to be the one with their name in the news for letting this guy go back home if he had these serious charges or if he had a history of assaultive behavior towards this particular victim. When it normally happens is if the person doesn't have any prior conduct or contact with the court system, no prior assaultive history, and if the actual alleged victim comes down and is on the record in the courtroom saying that I want this person to come back home, those are the very rare instances where the judge would likely get rid of that no contact order. But this guy is on the verge of letting his emotions ruin his opportunity to have his family set up for life. And I don't know what his current financial situation is, but he got $15 million guaranteed this year. The rest of that $82 million or the remainder of that $82 million is probably going to be null and void if these charges don't come out in his favor. Like I said, the NBA has a morality clause. They have a conduct policy. They have a domestic abuse policy, and they can void definitely all of the years after this, but there actually may be language that allows them to void a substantial portion of the $15 million that he got right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but it's nothing that could happen. And I get it. You're 20 years old. I was a lot more of a hard head at 20 than I am now, but there's nothing that could happen that should put you in a position to where everybody keep the damn hands to themselves. That's just the general rule. Everybody keep their hands to themselves. If you got to leave, you got to leave. But because this person couldn't allegedly had some issues with restraint, it looks like he's in a position where he about to let $80-something million fly out the window. And an opportunity, because if I'm the Houston Rockets literally just hired a coach who I did a video about, Ime Udoka, who he lost his job because he was engaging in a sexual relationship, even though it was consensual, with an employee or staff member. He lost his job. He just got on to being able to get another job. Now you have a coach with kind of no matter if you want to call that small or not, you have a coach with a suspect history of losing his job for not following internal policies. Now you have a player on the same team who's looking at felony criminal charges where he could be facing anywhere of potentially 7 to 15 years. It's just a horrible look. And this is a prime example of somebody who is on the verge for fumbling the bag. So you got to think smarter. You got to have a little bit of discipline and a little bit of common sense too. I don't know. It's just sad to see this happen on all aspects. It's sad to see a victim have to suffer through this, and it's sad to see somebody who had so much potential lose it all because they didn't have any restraint. But hopefully it works out and the justice plays itself out for whoever is the benefactor of justice. If you did the crime, you deserve to go away. If you didn't do the crime and it works itself out, you deserve to have your rights restored and not lose anything. But if I had to take a guess, because like, hey, what my soothsayer attorney skills say is there's probably more than enough evidence here to get a successful conviction. The victim went to the hospital. The neck fractures, the face lacerations are all corroborated by medical records. You got witnesses who are going to be able to testify that she was screaming down the hallway, running bloody, all these types of things. Hey, there's more than enough facts here. Now, so I think there's enough facts for him to get convicted of these allegations. Now, the interesting question is going to be, will he get convicted of allegations? For that, I don't know. What I think would happen, honestly, is going to be one of two things. They apparently have some history, right? They have some history. Allegedly, there's been other incidents that may not risen to the level where there was police intervention. So it could result in one of two ways. One, because they have a history, she just says, I want to recant everything, and you got a prosecutor who just don't want to move forward with it. I've seen cases where victims just allegedly mysteriously disappear. And even though you don't necessarily need a victim to prosecute a case, no prosecutor really wants to prosecute a case where the victim made a statement, then they kind of ran off. It could be some payola that's going on where, like, hey, we're going to end this relationship. I'm going to cut you this check. We're going to resolve this outside of court. Prosecutors can bring the charges without having that victim stand up, but it is very rare. I've honestly, for a DV case, I don't think I've ever seen that for a domestic violence case. I don't know. Maybe, counselor, if you tuned in, maybe you've seen that, but I've never in 3-4 years been in DV court too damn much, and 13 years total in this game. I've never seen a prosecutor move forward with the case in the DV court where the victim did not want to participate, did not want to testify. So that is, if I had to guess, I think it's going to be something where he uses resources or she's still in love because of they have this allegedly purportedly toxic relationship, and it may just kind of magically vanish on its own. But there's definitely more than enough evidence here. So it's just going to be interesting to see how all of this nonsense plays out. While I'm here, is one more thing that I want to talk about on the sports front. It was an interesting article that I saw regarding NIL deals. Now, what is an NIL deal? It's a deal that allows college players to get paid off of their name, image, and likeness. Hence the reason it's called the NIL deal. But I saw something out there that was extremely predatory. It's a college player out there who entered into a contract to borrow money based on what he could make from his NIL deal, right? So this athlete has the ability to make money on his name, image, and likeness. He entered into a contract to get money fronted to him based on what he could make from his NIL deal. But the interesting thing was when he signed that contract, there was a clause in that contract that caused him to give up a percentage of his future NFL earnings indefinitely. Really? How predatory? It's twofold. One, that's predatory as hell because, if I'm a superstar player at a top college, I can make money off my name, image, and likeness more so than I could if I'm a top player at a small time Division II, Division III school, right? But in order for this player to enter into this contract, he had to be a prospect because why would I sign a deal and front a college athlete money in exchange for him giving me a percentage of his lifetime earnings when he go to the NFL if he didn't have a legitimate shot going in the NFL. So it's mad predatory out there. It's terrible that this type of conduct is going on to take advantage of athletes who really want to just make some money. A lot of them want to help their families. But the other side of it is, yo, bro, if you're a college athlete, you should be able to read the terms of a contract. If you don't understand it, you should be able to ask somebody on your team, somebody at your school. You should be able to ask somebody for some help in navigating that. I thought that was an interesting take. It's predatory the same way that payday loans are predatory on middle class people. You need the money right now, so you're going to do whatever you got to do to get it. That's it for this video. If you like this video, make sure you check out whatever's going to pop up on the screen, because something's going to pop up. And it's going to be more content related to finances and attorney reactions. Y'all have a good one. Take care. Peace.